October is is the deadline for you to apply for places for primary school. But if you go on your council website, you see the accurate times you're supposed to do all of that. Then our finances is another one that causes us a lot of trouble. You're trying to manage yourself, you're trying to do things. There are loads of places that you can manage, you can get things that are cheaper. You can have a community whereby you come together, you share things, and then you do things together. These are ways that can help you in one way or the other. Then there are other things that you can think about. How do you navigate the age that you can leave a child in this country? Not hours on end is from 16 years old. However, even the 16 years old, you cannot leave them on their own overnight. And then you have people as well with young children. You have to be very, very careful the way you look after them. Because when you go to school, there are things that they do for us as teachers that they teach us on how to recognize children that are not well cared for. So if your child, the hair is not plaited for a long time, is looking scruffy just because you want to save some pounds. If you don't know how to make your children's hair, the first thing I would tell you is that learn to buy those colorful bubbles, put them on their hair and just pack it and brush it. Is neatly done. Their uniform is always clean. Their nails, make sure you clean their nails. Because there are certain things that will make you wonder that, oh, the teacher just called my child and started asking questions. There are things that bring your child to the teacher's radar that make them feel that they are being neglected, they are not being cared for properly. Especially when your child is also exposed to words they are not supposed to be exposed to. Those are things that will expose things that will make them put an eye on those children. So if you don't want to have any problem with the social workers, make sure you look after your children properly, their needs. Make sure you pick up your child on time. If you are always late in picking up your child, they will see that as neglect. So make sure you pick your child on time. If you know you cannot pick your child on time, then why don't you collaborate with someone that is within the area, and then you can easily just help with them. You can take turns in helping one another. The another aspect again is people saying, oh, I just dropped my child off. You do not speak to the teachers. It's very important that you have a good relationship with the teachers. Have I ever picked my children late? Yes. Do I do it consistently? No. Those teachers are the ones that will help me. When you're dropping your children off, have a great relationship with the teachers. Speak to them. Good morning, good morning. If you don't have anything to say, that's fine. If you have a question regarding something they want to do in school, ask the teachers, talk to them, form a good relationship with the teachers and the teaching assistants. These are the people that are with your children for 8 hours, 7 hours, and even if they are in nursery, maybe 3 to 4 hours. You need to have that good relationship with them. Smile with a smile on your face. Look good, look neat when you're going to drop your children off. Not the one you stand at the gate. To be honest, I've seen people stand at the gate. They are wearing maybe a robe that they just slipped on, or a robe under their this, and they're wearing a jacket and they're staying at the door, or they're inside the car. They just drop the children and they tell them to run inside. You see, people are watching you. They are watching you. Those little things build up the kind of person that you are. Okay. So if you have any issues in school and you feel you're not being listened to, shouting at the teacher or shouting at the member of staff will not cut it for you. You'll be seen as an aggressor. So please, the best way is to have a word with someone. But even after you have had a word, make sure you collect the email of the person that you spoke to so that you can have a paper trail. That is the way I operate, because a lot of people, you talk to this person, you don't know their name, you don't know the conversation that was heard. If I have any contact with my children's school and I know is a matter that is of importance, I always go back, I collect their email and I tell them, I send them an email. As from the conversation we had today at the playground or in the classroom, I then state everything that was said and I said it to them. Why are you doing that? You are building a paper trail. If your child is being bullied the same way, go and complain in school politely without shouting, because I am so guilty of that. We Africans have paid attention, I've observed. We tend to shout. We don't even know we are shouting. Like, "Ah, my child is being bullied." You are passionate. You have to tone it down, right? You have to tone that voice down and speak in a very polite conversation language, no matter how angry you are. You have to learn how to be emotionally intelligent and speak to them, give eye contact when collect email address and make sure the thing is followed up. Send email so that there's a paper trail on how those things was chased, on how those things were addressed. If you have a problem with what is being taught in your child's school, then in terms of the different things that are going on right now, that is the same way you're going to approach it again. Speak to the class teacher. At the beginning of the year, what I do, I always send an email or I speak to the class teacher. Please, can I have a copy of the curriculum for the school year? They know me so well now that they've even adapted it in that school. Before school started, they've emailed me the curriculum of my children's class so that I know what is going on. And if there is any topic that kind of I flag up, I speak to the class teacher. I'm not quite sure about the title of this topic. Can you tell me more about it? And they tell me. If I know that there was a time they were doing a book and that book was very gory, and I told them, please, when you're doing that subject, can you just, that book, can you take my child to another class? Politely, that request was granted, right? Because I just feel that my child is one of those that she's very visual. After reading that, it's me that will sit up all night when she's screaming nightmare. So I didn't want any drama in the night. I just prevented that. So rather than looking for Chinese whispers, if you have any issue, liaise with the school. They do not bite. You will not always agree with everything they are doing, but you are not fighting. It's differences in opinion. You can tell them if it's as a result of your religion, just communicate it with them. I'm sure you'll be able to negotiate an evil ground, right? Then there's another common one that I know leads to a lot of problem when your children is being, they are being name called. They are called, oh, okay. Are you the one that sent me this? Okay, it's you. I want to be sure that. I'm so sorry. I want to be sure that. So if you have people as well that are name calling your child, if you feel your child has been traumatized by the experience, I don't work with families to help their children with that. Your children are traumatized about those things because if they are brought up in a home that is very, very decent, those words will pierce them to their hearts. Someone being called offensive words, maybe Nigga or maybe Dickhead. One of those words will pierce them. I work with children and I didn't work with them. I asked them, why are you so offended about this word? And they tell me, because we are not supposed to be using that word and it's derogatory. And then we have to work with them to rephrase the meaning of those words, work on their identity. So talk to your children, let them know their identity, let them know the meaning of their native names. Like my name, Abia Sonia, the full name is Abia, born into wealth. If you are making fun of my name, you don't like wealth. So I'm not bothered. I know who I am, and I'm not even going to be perturbed about it. Sonia means wisdom. So you see, let your children know the meaning of their name, those native names, let them know the meaning. Their hair. I've had children come to me in my children's school. Please, can you make my hair like your daughter's hair? Do you understand? It takes a lot of courage for you to be able to take your afro to school. The way I will pack that hair, the way I will design the hair, you want to have it. So let your children be, as in let them know that that crown they are wearing on their head is not something you can just get. Look at me now, I'm wearing a wig, right? I can change my hair anytime, but it's not easy the other way around. So make them love what they have, make them understand who they are. I have affirmation that I created for my children. They tell themselves, they repeat it every day. I am smart. I'm intelligent. I am kind. Okay. I am honest. I do my best every time. My name is Ife Oluwa, means the love of God. She knows the meaning of her name. She's only 6 years old. Let your children know affirmation. Let them repeat it over and over and over again. By the time people start talking to them, they don't respond. If you call me a name that is not mine, I will not respond because that is not mine. So when you teach them enough and ingrain it into them, they become emotionally intelligent on how to regulate themselves. I also talk about know the law. It's very important that you know the law of where you're working because let's call a spade a spade. There are so many challenges that you might meet at work that will make you feel incompetent, that will make you feel like you will sabotage yourself sometimes. You look as if you're an imposter, but you are not. You are not an imposter. As long as you are doing your job diligently, as long as you know the rule, if you are working in a place, know the rule like the back of your hand. If there is a handbook, read that handbook, let it be your friend so that you know when to draw the line, you know the boundaries, you yourself, you are not breaking it. Okay, you are following it and you ensure that people are following it. So know the rule of where you're working, have a contract for anything that you're doing, whether it be house, when you move into a new place, please, by all means, take a picture of the gas, of the water, of the electricity, because if they bring bill for you and you don't know the time that you move into that place, you don't have the evidence. They'll start dragging you to come and pay. Finances is not something one should get muddled up with. It can also impact family well-being as well. So I've talked about the law, I've talked about the school, I've talked about educational system as well. I have some videos for those people that want to follow me. Is Abia Sonia on Instagram, Abia Sonia on YouTube. I did a detailed video on how to choose schools, on the gradings of school, I regard Ofsted. So we have a standing, we have a lot of things. So we have a standing, we have good, we have requires improvements. Please do not take your children to 3 if that is not a good school. 1 and 2 is actually good, but the thing is, most one any school that is graded as standing is mostly oversubscribed, and as such, to get into it is really challenging. If they give you a school that is a good, take it, but please do not always leave your children to just be like that. Always also impute whatever they've learned. Look for resources. Isolation is another big thing again for people that are young families that don't have. Learn to create a support system. Be what you want others to be to you, but make sure they have similar values, similar beliefs, and similar vision to prevent jealousy, to prevent unnecessary competition. So liaise with people. You can find them at church. If you are studying, you can find them in your school. You can find them at work. You can find them in different places. But be friendly with people. But be very, very careful on that friendliness by defining your boundaries. So even collaborating. I remember when I was a student, we used to be about 4 families. We used to shop together. We'll go to the big African market. There's a market I call Africa Market because they have all these African food and the rest of you. So buy them in box and then we split it, right? There is no shame in that. We'll buy a box of yam, we'll split it into, buy 2 boxes of yam, we'll split it into 4, and we all split the money. We'll go to the abattoir, we'll buy meat, and we'll all split it. One person can go and we'll split it. So it just makes it helps you to save a lot of money. Schools as well, they have uniforms that they give out. If you know you cannot afford to buy everything brand new, every little help is not singing with your child that they are wearing other things that other people donated. Keep your mouth shut. You don't have to share with other people. If you know you're really struggling, buy what you can afford and ask for help if the school, because normally if they have people that are leaving, they normally donate things and those things look like brand new. So get as much support as possible from people, right? From the right people. Please don't suffer in silence. Isolation can be big in the UK. Don't suffer in silence. Speak to people and make friends. Remember, be what you want others to be to you as well. So I've talked about school. I've talked about education, the law. I think that was all was in my PowerPoint before it was deleted. So if there is any other question that you have, please do. Well, am I still within my time?
So
Okay. Please do where to ask.
you've highlighted very important things. Something came to mind. Can you shed a little bit more light on safeguarding?
Safeguarding, that's a big one. The law in the UK do not respect anybody. It doesn't matter who you are. I remember they gave our late queen a ticket for speeding. It was a driver, it was a vehicle. They sent a ticket to Buckingham Palace. So he's not respecter of anybody. Okay. So it doesn't matter who you are. If you really do like yourself, please, please, please do not neglect your children at home on their own. We've had cases where people are doing night shift or they went out and they left their children. Then their children wander out of the streets. And in this place, hardly before you have the neighbors are really like, you know each other like we do back home. And if they see a child wandering, they don't know who the parent is, especially if they don't know you as their neighbor, they will call the police. And if the police take that child, they say that's safeguarding. You in breach of safeguarding, neglecting your child, and that can be seen as abuse as well. So they'll take that child away, and then you start ringing around. Even if you know the deputy police commissioner, they can't help you. You will have to then liaise with those people where they'll give you a caseworker in the end, and they will start monitoring that family. So it's very, very important that because of shift, that you now some people get into trouble because there are some jobs that you do here. Once that case is highlighted as a safeguarding issue, they will they will inform your employer. If you're working for the NHS or anything, they will have to inform them by law. You can be in big trouble for that. Okay. So please, for a moment of going to get extra shift, let's do well to help each other. Have a group of family that work together, or maybe you and your spouse. You have to work together. These pounds will wait. Sometimes you have to lose some pounds in order for you to be able to prioritize the safety of your child. Even now, when I'm working, my husband, we have to work around each other. That is the only way around it. If you are here alone with the children, make friends with people that can also help you. You take turns in helping one another, because safeguarding will affect a lot of things. It will affect your job. It will affect your mental health. You'll be depressed because you'll be thinking, how do I get myself out of this? And it just get wider and wider, because safeguarding will affect in terms of the school. They will inform the school, they will inform your employer, they will inform a lot of people. So why put yourself in all of this trouble because you want to make extra money? So it's very, very important you prioritize the safety of your children, the safety of your family, so you don't have unnecessary record, especially if you have a job that has to do with DBS. You will have a lot of issue. So please, 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 and please, I've had a lot of phone calls where I'm having to tell people, don't shout at the social worker. Even if you're crying, you're bringing out tears of blood. I'm sorry, they have to follow the paperwork. They cannot help you. It doesn't make them wicked. They are just doing the right thing by the children. Understood? So that's all I have to say with regards to safeguarding. I have a video on that as well. Go on YouTube. If you don't understand it, just go and read on it. But please, I'm begging, joke aside, it's so important. Do not put yourself through that. It's too emotionally draining.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you. I have a family friend at the moment, and I'm sure that one of the thoughts going through their mind is maybe regrets on why they came here, because they've been in battle with their kids. Their kids have been taken away for months. So you know how it is. You are not able to focus on your job, and you can't even get jobs outside where you are, like travel far, because you are expected to still be around and visit the kids from time to time, as in the impact on finance, the mental health impact, the bouts of regrets, you know. So I don't even know what it feels like having all your kids taken from you for months, and you just moved to the country recently. So this safeguarding issue, it's very serious. It's something that we really need to take seriously.
Isn't it? Can I jump on that as well? And it's not only when you leave your children alone or when you pick your children, you have a habit of picking them late. There's another one, smacking. Smacking. Don't smack your child. If you instill the fear in your child because you're smacking them. Even when you're outside, you go on a parents' meeting and you just call their name and they go, that's a sign. People are watching. When your child is quivering when they're around you, that's a sign. When you leave mark, that's a sign. Even if you hit them in their bum, don't do that. They can go to toilet and maybe they have an accident and then the teacher wants to change them and they see that mark. What are you going to say? Do not smack your children. There are other ways that you can speak to them. Can children frustrate you sometimes? Yes. But if an adult is frustrating you, will you raise your tongue and start fighting them? Ask yourself that question. Would you, if I'm really frustrating you, would the first thing you do to me, is it to punch me? So why then do we do that when it's children? I know these are generational things. These are system changing. That's what we are used to in Africa. But I promise you, if you know how to really put consequences in place, reward your children, not just put only consequences and reward, catch them being good, communicate with them in language that they will understand, in a tone, in a voice that they will understand, you will have your children behaving so well. And I'm not just saying this because, oh, she's just saying it by the book. I've got a 16 years old, 12 years old, and a 6 years old. And to be honest, that is what I had to use. Is it working? Yes. Is it challenging? Yes, it's challenging. Very challenging sometimes. Sometimes I just have to walk away and then come back because I can't take it. I'm talking, you are not allowing me to explain myself. I'll just walk away and then come back. Sometimes even before you come back, they'll come back and apologize to you. They'll come back and apologize to you. The thing is, you have to connect to be able to correct a child. If you do not connect with your child, you will not be able to correct them. And remember, whatever relationship you cultivate with your child now is what they are going to remember when they are older. So it's up to you. Thank you so much, Dr. Izine and Wema, for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Wow.
Does anybody have a question?
God help us in this land.
Amen. Anyone with a question, you can type it. If you're shy, you can, if you don't want to send it to everybody in the group, you can choose our names and then send it privately if you feel like it's too much for you to share that everybody sees it. But thank you so much, Abe Sonia. I really enjoyed the session. What would you say so we have two sets of parents who did not know that their children have disability, especially those in the autistic spectrum. When they now come, you will now start hearing teachers saying, your child is XYZ, your child needs to go for assessment, and people are chasing the pound. And then you have those ones who it's here, they then start telling them that your child has so and so, you need to go for assessment. So I want you to speak on those who bring their children, because I've heard parents say there was nothing wrong with the child in Nigeria. It's when we came here, that's when things started happening to our child. These people are like this, like this, like this. They want to find problem in our child. And then we start using a lot of words that sometimes can be very hurtful. So what can we tell parents who they didn't know their children may have a disability, but when they come here, they realize their children would have to go through assessment?
Okay. First, I just want to quickly point out that I do know that we are a very religious bunch. Back from Africa, we are very, very religious. So let me just put it out there. I'm a Christian myself. So this diagnosis, even if you're a Christian, when you're pregnant, do you still go to the hospital? Yes. Who gave the wisdom to the doctors and the nurses? Is still God, right? So we're having an extension of God here on earth. If your child has been diagnosed with anything, whether ADHD, autism, dyslexia, and all of those stuff, nobody wants to label your child to make them stagnant, to make them not to progress. There's always a good intention behind it. You don't have to accept the label, but please do well to explore all the support that is given to you for the good of your child. When you explore this, there are so many famous people. The owner of this, is it Richard Branson? He's dyslexic, isn't it? Yeah. So he didn't stop him. There are so many famous people that have got dyslexia, that have got ADHD, and they are still making big time. So those things do not stop people. However, leverage on the support system. And why do you have to go and tell everybody that your child is getting support? If you see it as a stigma, keep your mouth shut. Don't tell anybody. Just work with the school, liaise with the school, and let them do everything to support your child. There are some autistic children that are so good in maths. They are naturally good in maths. So when they have ADHD, it's just that their attention span is really, really small. right? And there are ways that they see things. It's just a little bit different from every other person. But then again, who says our way is the best? Right? Who says our way is the best? Their way is just unique, but they also see it as our way is unique as well. So I wouldn't say you should be ashamed of that. I know we are not used to it in the cultural sense of things. I know we call everything demon and possess. Do I believe in all those things? I know, but I'm just trying to say, please do well. Take all the supports, leverage on it, and let your children get the best. And if your child is referred for counseling, about people telling me that they be referred for counseling, Sonia, they want to label my child. It's not everything that is labeled. If your child needs counseling, let them use counseling, okay? It's just to help them process things that will prevent things getting worse in the future. So nip it in the bud. They said it's teaching time, saves nine. If you did not know, you now know. Don't fight with the school, work with the school so that they will do it together. I was not very good in mathematics. I used to have extra lesson in maths. Do I still use maths now? I still use it, but I'm not a mathematician. Did I get extra support? Yes, I did. Was that a labor? It was not. Does it affect some of my children? They don't like maths? Yes. Are they good in other subjects? Yes. We cannot all be good in everything. You only need to be good in one thing in life to be successful. Work with the authority and stop fighting.
Thank
Then
you.
the other thing again, you said those that know that came with it. You need to
Yeah.
come with the assessment. You can't just use your mouth to say it and believe. I've seen people come here, they just say it, but they don't have the assessment. You need to go and do the assessment. And it's camps that normally do that. So work with school, they'll tell you everything that you need to do. Thank you, Doc.
Thank you. Thank you. Why I'm asking also because it's also a long wait. It can take up to 60 months, so be very patient. And there are extra support. Don't stay in isolation. My son, we are on the third year of waiting. We are being assessed for autism and ADHD. So what we did was the nursery, the GP, and the school, they just work like a triangle. And also our churches, our African churches don't consider these children. So I know there is a big stigma in our churches and our other place of meeting, but don't be shy. The support is there at large. So that's just something I want to point out. So thank you so much, Avis, for this wonderful session.
I have a
It is,
question.
yes, you have.
Yeah, there's a question from my chat.
Okay.
So someone says, is it okay if I leave my toddler with my 14-year-old? And sorry, why can't I see this? 14-year-old and 12-year-old to go get groceries for about 1 to 2 hours.
I think that should be okay. Now, when you say 14 years old, is that 14 years old able to quickly as a bit proactive should something happen to the younger ones? You see, it's not only the age. You also have to think about their sense of thinking, their maturity, and the way they handle things. So if that child should something happen, God forbid, would that child be able to call the ambulance before you come? Because children, even right in front of me, my daughter swallowed a penny. I had to quickly call ambulance years ago. I called the ambulance. So imagine if an adult wasn't there. Will the 14 years old be able to do this? So whilst you are doing this, don't just look at the age. Expose your children, prepare them on what to do. Should there be emergency, tell them the numbers to call, take away things. Even when you take away everything, children have a way of finding those things, right? So please prepare that child and let it not be more than that 1 hour, 2 hours. Please. Anything more than that, you might be putting yourself in danger.
Someone has shared leaving your child alone. I just say be safe. If you don't, that's why also the world has evolved through the pandemic. We now have online shopping. So there are some things that you can buy online. It will come to your house. If it costs you, it will cost you maybe £4 or something. Tesco is doing 30 minutes. I think this what they call it. It's very quick in 30 minutes. A selected slot of time. I think also Sainsbury does it. I know if you're talking about African food, somehow you might want to arrange a time where you say, okay, you build a relationship with the person and say, I'm coming to buy so and so, so and so. Get it for me. I'll pay this and I'll just take my stuff and use taxi and go home. Because sometimes prevention is better than cure. You don't want to start
Sorry
explaining.
to interrupt you. Even the African shop, we have others. Sorry, I don't work for them. They didn't pay me for this. We have a lot of online people now. African shop that you order from Birmingham, from Manchester, wherever you are, they will ship it down to you. So that's not even an excuse.
So, is there any other question from your end?
Oh, we can progress.
All right. Thanks, everyone. If you still have questions while we are talking, please don't hesitate, share or raise your hand. So our next speaker is Laura Palmer, and this is kind of going to be quite different. I don't know if I would be able to share. I'm so scared that if I share, there's going to be
Don't share. That's a way
there's
I've
going to
tried
be
it once.
yeah.
Just
So
read it out so that Laura can.
yeah,
No,
yeah.
don't
So
share.
Laura, what we're going, this format is please just kind of pay a bit of attention. It's going to be like a question and answer. Laura would just tell us she's British, Canadian, American.
British American. Mm-hmm.
British American. Yeah, so I've known Laura for a while now. So we're going to talk about acclimatizing to the British culture. So this is someone who knows her culture very well. So she's going, and we are trying to integrate into the British culture. So I just have a few questions for her. And one of the questions is on cultural differences. So Laura, what are some cultural differences that international students or families should be aware of when they arrive in the UK?
Yeah, first up, hello everyone, thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm Laura, I'm part of Transformations Leeds team. I'm British and a British American, been working with international students for about 9 years now. So yeah, this is an area that I love. So yeah, I think some main things to think about is probably communication style. British people are a lot more reserved. It doesn't mean they're trying to be unfriendly, it's just, that's how they come across, quite reserved. And I'd say that yeah, politeness is like super key, along with punctuality and timing. If someone says, hey, let's meet at 9:30, if you're coming and you know you'll be there by like 9:35, it's best to message saying, hey, sorry, I'm 5 minutes late, and they'll expect you to arrive within 5-10 minutes. If it's more than 15 minutes, then they might be a bit like, oh, they're quite late. So that's like just a small communication kind of yeah, example there. I think something else that's different is like how we greet one another. Often if it's like close friends, you might have like a hug or like high five or something. If it's someone that you've not met before, you probably would want to like have like high respect for each other's personal space. So this looks like maybe like waving or maybe shaking their hand. I'd say that yeah, there's just loads of different things, but those are like some key ones that come to mind. Oh, you're muted.
So another question I have is integrating into the society. So are there resources or strategies that might help us Africans as we are coming in, that will help us integrate, effectively? Because it's sometimes like a very huge cultural shock. It's only what you hear, that's what you feel. So some people have like an imagination of how Britain is going to look like, and there's that shock. How do I integrate? What do I need to integrate? So are there resources or strategies you think might help people?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing would probably be try as much as possible to get into groups where you're not with people just from your own cultural background, and try and find spaces that are really like international friendly. And if you're in spaces where there's people from lots of different countries, then everybody's kind of forced to speak English in a way that each other can understand, and that's really useful for yeah, for having like strong cross-cultural communication skills in the future, and for kind of getting used to different cultures. One place to do that is if you're going to university, taking advantage of the different clubs and societies that are offered by your university. If you're here as a dependent or someone who's supporting someone else, then there's lots of opportunities to volunteer in your local community where you can meet lots of different types of people. I think if you look on like different like council websites, you'll find out different volunteer opportunities. And again, like I'm a Christian as well, so I'd recommend no matter what your faith beliefs are, find a church wherever you go, and there'll be places there that people are really going to be welcoming. They'll want to find out about you, they'll want to see if they can help you, they might want to learn from you. And I'd say don't go just like any church, but I'd say in particular go to like an intercultural church or a church that has people from lots of different diverse backgrounds in it. because this is where you'll be able to find out people more about British culture, but not just about British culture, and you'll be accepted for who you are. You won't be expected to change. You want to stay authentic to who you are, but you'll be embraced fully as your whole self, and you'll be able to kind of enjoy making friends from around the world in those spaces too. So yeah, I think going to a new place without a church, I would find that really, really difficult, and I wouldn't really know where to start. So I think even if church isn't normally for you, I'd say go just for your friends and for your community.
I can testify to that. Also, I know Nigerians will be like volunteering, are they paying me money for it? But it actually also helps for you to relieve yourself of, sometimes we're cautious of our accent and we want to be like, I want to speak like so that they'll hear me. So you are tensed or you're anxious already. But when you volunteer, like she says, in church or clubs or stuff, places like that, you start relaxing, your anxiety calms down. So even when you get into work, it doesn't feel so much like, especially in health, and the UK, that's lots of accents. We have Cockney accents, we have Birmingham accents, we have Salford accent, we have Manchester accent. So even in Middlesbrough, there is Middlesbrough accent. You just say, oh, you're from the Yorkshire. So imagine if you're now trying to say, oh, I want to speak like them. If you're in London, by the time you come to Birmingham, it's a different kind of accent you are going to be in. So
it's so true. Yeah, so like I'm from the south of England, I'm from Cambridge, and I've lived in Leeds for 12 years now. It took me 6 months to understand the local dialect. And this is someone British who's lived in the UK my whole life. And the accent was just so thick, it took me 6 months. My friend from the Midlands had to translate for me. So if you're finding it difficult to understand the local dialect of where you're living, it might not just be because of like your hearing, it's difficult.
Yeah, it's also like speaking on the phone with the Irish people or with the Scottish people, or also hearing from Liverpool, someone from Liverpool. You're like, I can't, and that will give you anxiety because you're thinking, how am I going to understand? Or, some people shy away from calling 111 because of accent. So feel free to be in such spaces so that you start relaxing that anxiety. And like Laura says, for me, with my family, it's 12 years. It is 7 years already in the UK, and I go to different places, libraries everywhere, just so that I can see what does it take to even, associate or belong to this, this place, to this community. So one question again I have is fostering friendship. You've talked about that. So can you provide examples how international students or families can connect with British peers? So let us give a disclaimer. Laura is dating a Nigerian, an Igbo man.
I'm proud.
So how do you foster that relationship? How do you foster friendship? Obviously, I met Laura before she started dating, but a Nigerian having a British friend. Some people say, oh, I want to just have my Nigerian. So can you provide examples of how people can foster friendship or relationships?
Yeah, I'd say the main thing is food. I think food is a great way to draw people together, to connect. I think that so if you think about British food, you'll probably think it's quite bland. Maybe it's very buttery. Maybe the only spice they know is salt. You're not wrong. Like it's not the best. But we do adopt a lot of different foods, and we edit a lot of different foods from around the world to suit our tastes. And I think there's not much more that brings people together than like cooking together and learning each other's dishes. And then maybe having like kind of dinner parties or kind of like hosting one another. And I think that's just such a great way to meet new people. And so I'd say like don't be afraid of, if you're meeting someone, maybe a classmate or someone at a club or society, just like invite them over for dinner, invite them over for lunch. This would be a great way to kind of build friendship and to show offer that hospitality. And again, if someone invites you to their house for a meal, like as much as you can, try to accept it, because it's a really like generous offer that they've offered for you to come. And I'd say to like try anything. If I think about some of the food I've tried, I can remember, one of my Chinese friends, he cooked me some pig's feet, which is really uncommon to eat in the UK, but it was actually really tasty. And having an attitude of like, yeah, I'll try anything once, or I'll try lots of different things, I think that's like a really, really key thing. And another thing I'd say is to like share your special events and festivals and special different days and stuff with like different people, and don't assume that only people from within your culture will want to celebrate with you. I've absolutely loved being invited to friends for like Lunar New Year celebration, or just like a special harvest day, and just being able to kind of celebrate that together and kind of observe what it means in their culture, and kind of like I love seeing people being like really proud of who they are and not trying to hide any part of who they are when with their friends. And kind of, I think the more we can encourage each other to remain true to who we are rather than try to make everybody like look the same, like the better, really. So yeah. Oh, you're muted again.
Thanks, Laura. I really loved how you shifted it to cultural identity. Sometimes when we come and we are trying to integrate, we feel like we should drop our own culture. Abby at the beginning said something about teach your children their native names, the meaning of their names. And I remember you asking, what does MOAS mean? What does this mean? Because British people are quite curious about your culture. They want to learn about you. So how do you suggest people like Africans, anyone coming in, you work with international students, to balance their cultural identity and embracing a new culture?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a great question. I think the more you know about who you are, the more you can like stand on those foundations. And I think the best way to learn who you are is by going to a completely foreign and new land and kind of start realizing, oh, people do things differently to myself, and kind of have an open mind to see like, oh, why is it that I do things the way I do them? Are the things that I do the best way to do things, or do I need to host a meal, or you might see another way of doing things and someone else will think that, oh, like, yeah, that's better. So yeah, for myself and Emeka, we're constantly fighting over how to do washing up. So British people when we do hand washing, we don't wash the soap off of our dishes. So he'll complain and say, oh, I'm going to rewash all the dishes before we have a meal together. And so I think just like having like a humorous attitude towards it all, and kind of thinking about oh, my way is not necessarily the right way, and having an attitude of willing to learn, but also strength to be like, oh, if someone is constantly saying the way that I do things is wrong, like that's not right either. And so kind of recognizing that, no, actually, like, you've had a lot of life experience too, and you've got lots of great ideas. And if someone's constantly, we say, stamping on your parade or putting you down or kind of not lifting you up, then maybe they're not someone that you want to like stay in their company with. In the UK, there's huge kind of emphasis on well-being, and kind of being able to feel safe in a space is really, really important. And so if someone, particularly in like a work environment or university environment, is not treating you in a way that's kind, maybe if they're exhibiting racist behavior, or there's just anything in it that's not right, then like speak to them directly, tell them, what you're doing is affecting me in this way. And if they don't change their attitude and don't change their behavior, then go straight to whoever's managing that space, and they'll like take that seriously. It's like, seek support. It's not okay to like suffer in silence. And like I said, it's a really important and a big thing here. So I think it's important to know that you should be treated equally, treated with kindness as well. So
Amazing. And you have talked, and which is one of the second to last question, is stereotypes. So how do you navigate the biases and the stereotypes that we might encounter? For me in Nigeria, mainly mentioning of Nigeria, it sparks a lot of conversation. So also, we also might have some biases about you guys. So how do you think we can navigate through that?
Yeah, I think the main thing is friendship and spending time with people who are not like yourself. The more time that you can spend with people who are not like yourself, the more your eyes can be opened to new perspectives. I think, being confident of your cultural heritage, sharing about it with pride, but also maybe with criticism if you're aware of some things within your own history that that's not great. I mean, there's plenty of stuff in British history that I'm like, oh, I'm really sorry that that's happened. That wasn't cool. And I think just being kind of like really aware of that as yourself. So yeah, I think those are probably like the best things. And like I said about seeking support and engaging in dialogue with anyone who's not like acting kindly. In terms of like challenging your own stereotypes, again, I think just having friends from different places is probably the best way to kind of combat that. And yeah, it's the best way to like learn cultural humility is by having friends from all over the world. Like you can't really get that just from reading books.
Thank you so much. You can't get that just from reading books. So, for just for context, I lived in Leeds, and I in fact I immersed myself in Leeds. I will always go and look out for what's happening from library to the small community I have. So wherever you are living, it's a community of its own inside the city you are living. So if you are there, if you go to like the library or the community hub, you'll see a lot of events. So somehow in the church I was attending, there was something called Explore, and then COVID hit. But somehow, by God's grace, I came back to knowing what Explore is. Where Laura works, they help international students to feel welcome, but that's not the only thing. Because we have the Christian faith, the major work that Laura they do is to equip us as leaders. So you're coming to Britain, right? Remember that in history, the British came to Nigeria, for example, with as missionaries. What they are doing is they are preparing students to go back as missionaries or leaders for their own countries. So, and it's majorly like saying, okay, I came here, I'm going to immerse myself, integrate myself, understand the British culture, and also see what can I learn, what can I get from the education, from the work experience, and how can I be a godly representative in my own country. So, like you're more of like a reverse missionary. So, but one thing they do is they do things with international students. So I just want to ask, what support service does Transformation Lead offer to international students in adapting to life? I know you guys are trying to spread out in the UK. So what kind of services are you into?
Yeah, so there's probably like 4 main things that we do as a charity. So one of them is we support local churches to grow interculturally and to host special like international welcome services. So next month we're going to be helping 4 churches in Leeds to be able to host adapted international welcome services where we'll hear testimonies from different students. We'll have students who are involved in preaching, students involved in leading the worship, as a way to celebrate and welcome international students and show that churches are not here just to serve international students, but actually we're here because we want to learn from, particularly from Christian international students arriving, because you're coming as missionaries as you are, even if you don't know it yet. And so we want to learn from you as well. The second thing that we do is we host the Living Room. So this is a in-person weekly social event for international students who just want to come have fun, learn about different cultures, learn and make British friends. And we also, the tagline is that it's a home away from home. And it's a space where students who might otherwise feel quite isolated and lonely be able to find like deep friendships and have lots of fun doing lots of different games. And as part of that as well, each week we have optional Bible discussions in which people can have quite deep conversations, because otherwise like it's quite hard, I think, to go deeper in like the beginning when you're just starting to make new friends. There's not many people who want to ask you more than, hey, how's the weather, or you're finding your course, what you're studying, where you're from. It's like everyone's had that conversation 20 times in the first 2 weeks, and it's like, I'd like to have another conversation now. And so we've got the Living Room, and then we've also got Explore International. So this is our third thing that we offer. And this is for students who come and they know that they want to discover and explore more about who Jesus is and what Christians believe and what the Bible says. And this is a 9-week course that includes a meal each week, where people can sit on different discussion tables, and it's done in partnership with 4 different churches around Leeds. We come together, we eat together, we hear a talk, and we discuss. And it's a space in which students can express themselves freely. There's no wrong answers, and everybody can kind of just learn from one another and kind of build that friendship up in a way that's like, specifically designed for international students. So in the past, we've seen international students go to church services struggle to understand more than 50% of what's going on if they're not used to the space, whereas Explore International, our stats show that students understand 93% of what is said and expressed because it's done at a pace aimed towards international students. And then the final thing that I'd love to recommend is we have the apprenticeship program online, and this is one that Dr. Williams has done previously, and this is a year-long program that we offer to Christians online who want to find out what does it mean to be a godly leader in whatever context of work and whatever context of culture. And so this is taught on Zoom on one Saturday a month for 11 months. Just a 2-hour Zoom followed by about 6 to 10 hours of assignments and homeworks. And the homeworks look like doing presentations on what my culture says about what's a biblical worldview and biblical perspective on my culture. It helps people be more prepared for different workplaces and thinking about, just analysing what a workplace, what does it mean to be living as a godly leader with integrity, with honesty, speaking kindness, not using bribery, not using dishonesty to kind of get further, and what does it mean to kind of take those attitudes of leadership into my next context. So those are some different things that Transformations Leads offer. And if you want to find out more, you can follow me on Instagram. That's probably the best way, or ask Dr. Williams for my number. And I can, would be happy to chat with you more about any of those.
Thank you so much, Laura. I really appreciate. Thank you for sharing with us. I don't know if anyone has a question.
Thank you.
Just a quick one. At the all you do, is it a physical thing, or do you have online presence as well with people?
So the apprenticeship program's all online, and then the other ones are in person. So the majority of our stuff is in Leeds, but we're a Leeds and a global organisation as well. And so the stuff that we do online, we've got participants all over the world joining in, and so it means you're in a learning community with people in Kenya and New Zealand and Canada and Japan and Russia, and it's a cool space to be in.
That makes it even more accessible if it's online. Just that I will ask that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Christina has a question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good morning. Oh, good afternoon. I'm not in the at the moment. So the question I wanted to ask is this: how do we support parents who in turn can support their children when it comes to issues around intersectionalities, including certain kind of gender situations that we're not used to back home? And just given the values we already have as individuals, as Christians, or whatever practices we engage in, how do we support parents to safeguard their children's understanding of who they are, and also how they are receptive or how they are receptive to other people without judging? Yeah, I think that's helpful, because we are in a society where this is recognized fully, and we have our own opinions on how we grew up about these things. So, and we know that we want to imbibe a certain kind of culture or way of being towards our children, but they will go out there, they will hear new things, they will hear different things. How do we convince them, or how do we support them to accept people for who they are as individuals? God loves everyone. God made everyone. We recognize people make their own choices, and sometimes children are pushed to make certain choices that may not necessarily be theirs, as we can see in situations in the US and other areas. So what would you advise in terms of getting parents to navigate this intersectional housings or situation? Thanks.
Was that for me or for somebody else?
Any of you.
Great, I can start it, and then I think some of you guys are more experienced in this area. I'd say that the main thing is instilling values at home and not shying away from difficult topics, because these are going to be topics that are going to be brought up and spoken about in school. And if it's something that they've never heard of before, it's likely the first thing they hear is what they're going to think is true. And so if you've first spoken about it at home and shared about who they are in the image of God, then I think that that's probably the best way to address it, and kind of speak like share with them everything in love and like in truth, and kind of help them know that help them engaged, like help them to start to think critically at a young age as well, so that they can analyze for themselves what's true and what's not true, and to be able to I think in terms of helping them to be friends with everybody and not have like a judging, inadvertently judging. Like as a child, I was brought up in a Christian home, and I can remember like I was just awful. I was judging everyone around me who were not Christian, who were swearing, who were having sex. This was when I was like a teenager or something, and it wasn't until I was later realizing that, oh, actually, like me judging these people is really not the best witness that I can be being right now. So it's not the best way to interact or make friends or to love the people I'm with. And it would have been better to instead kind of just be with them, be friends with them, not judge, but like show them that actually I'm living in a way that's going to be different from that. And I'd say that I had another point, but it's gone. I think one of you guys want to jump in here, because I think this is
okay. Do you want me to speak
yes,
a bit?
Please, can you? Yes.
Okay, so I love what Laura said. There's the law of first mention. The law of first mention is whoever you hear something from first is who you tend to go into. You will tend to believe more. So I would say, please, as parents, we shouldn't hide what is going on in our society from our children. We have to educate them with the right words. We have to tell them, but not from a judging point of view, like you were saying. To start with, I would say your values and your beliefs. You have to instill that in your children, not force them. If you notice, I said instill in your children, whereby you explain the reason those values are there, not because mommy and daddy created it. It's like a guideline for when mommy and daddy are not there, right? So they use it as a benchmark to make their decisions going forward, because they will go to college, they will go to uni, and we are not always going to be with them. Another thing, you have to create an open door policy. What that means and what that looks like is that do not be so reactive. I've built such a relationship with my children now that they are the one that even inform me of the new words that come out. Because right now we've got all sort of alphabets. Very soon they'll create new alphabets. It's my children that will even tell me, oh, this is out. And I'm like, okay, let's go. Let's research it together. This is the time you create that open communication, no judgment. Just because I don't believe in your way doesn't mean you are wrong. Doesn't mean I hate you. No, it's just that I do not think in that way. My ways are not aligned in that way, and that's it. Respect mine, and I respect you. Simple. That's it, right? So when you create that door where they are free to come and meet you and talk about it, don't see it as, oh, is it taboo to talk about it at home? No, let them have a policy, open policy. I'm telling you, if you can establish that with your children, they'll be the one that will tell you the new ones that are coming in. I hear some, I'm like, really? Let's go and have a look. They will even show me some videos, because I work with children most of the time doing positive psychology facilitations in schools as well. And when they use those words, they thought I don't know. And I tell them what it means. And they're like, oh, miss, you're sick, wicked. Aha, you thought I didn't know what you were saying. So I understand, because then I understand their frame of reference, and they cannot hide things from me. So when you have that open policy and you are not reactive, you're just open. Don't put any shock on your face. If not, they won't tell you. Even if you are screaming inside, just really, that's the new one. Come on, tell me about this. Let's look into it. So have opened up policy is so important. Your values, imbibe it. Let them buy into it. There should always be a story. Our story is so powerful. I'm telling you, have a story behind every value. Even when they forget that value, the story, they will never forget. I have stories that my mom told me. I came here when I was just 23. I've been here for 20 years now, right? And there are stories that my mom and my dad told us, that there are certain things that people will do. When I hear that story, I retreat. I don't want to do it because I remember the story. Tell your story to your children about their values and their belief. Have an open communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Abis. Thank you so much. I think this it's not a judgment to people. like an elder in the UK I know say, stop delegating your children's work, the work you're supposed to do to the Sunday school teacher or to the teacher in school, because you don't know what's going to happen. There are lots of teachings, there are lots of conversations that are going. So the home is the first point. So your home, you have to make out time. You have to be parenting is very hard, but you have to be there, because otherwise the world will teach your children before you teach your children. And we don't want that for ourselves, especially when you have good values to share. I don't know if Ezine has something, but there's a question here I'd like Laura to answer before she leaves. Why I want her to answer is also because she's British and she listens to us when we speak. So someone's asked a question concerning the accent concerning the accent, I'm having issues with it at my place of work. Sometimes I would like to express myself well, but I feel timid. In situations like this, what can I do?
Mm-hmm. It's a fantastic question. I think that you're not alone in that, asking that as well. I think what is important is just like try to have the confidence to start expressing yourself at work. I think that if you start speaking and if you're thinking that you're speaking slower than you normally would speak and try to enunciate more than you normally would, then that will help the listener understand what you're saying more. And same if you don't understand what someone else is saying to you, maybe they've got a thick or heavy accent that you're not familiar with hearing, the kindest thing to do is just say like, oh, I didn't actually catch that. Please could you repeat yourself more slowly so that I can understand? And that's not rude or offensive to ask someone to repeat themselves, and hopefully that will create better and easier communication. If there's someone that you're working with who you've tried this and it's just really, really impossible to understand them, try to maybe do more written communication back and forth, because it's easier to read and communicate yourself about yourself more like written than verbally potentially. But yeah, I think in general, if everybody speaks slightly slower and tries to enunciate more, then that's an easy way to understand. And I'd much rather somebody say to me, Laura, can you say that again more slowly? I didn't understand what you said, than for someone just to smile and nod and me think that they understood, but actually they didn't. And then it's really annoying because later I have to explain it again. So save yourself the hassle and try to clarify early on if there's been any misunderstanding.
Thank you so much, Laura. Really, if there's no other question, Laura has another meeting that she would love to jump into.
Oh, it's okay. I was in the other meeting,
right.
so
Okay.
I'm not in a rush. So if anyone's got other questions, I'm here.
All right.
Dr. Wema, can I just say something quickly, please?
Yes.
You know about that accent, right? We all have accents, right?
Yes.
So I thought for 8 years, I learned how not to take myself too seriously, right? And have a good sense of humor. And also learn. There are certain things that I would say, and the children are like, can you say that again? And I said it. And they start laughing. Why are you laughing? Right? There are certain things that we may never get right because of our accent. Learn to laugh with it. But then again, have an open mind to learn. If they don't understand what you're saying, you're trying to say it. I tend to just go to spelling. Like, I'm trying to say this. Or like, oh, that's what you mean. So perhaps just ask them and make light of the situation. It's not too deep. Before you know it, you're going to get used to it and you learn better ways. And they don't understand, how do you say it? So when they tell you how to say it, next time, take note of it. And the more you practice that, please don't be timid. Don't box yourself. Just make light of the situation, because the more you speak and the more they tell you they don't understand, okay, ask them how to say it, then it will help you a lot. I don't take myself so seriously. If you don't understand, it's an opportunity for me to learn. And we just keep learning as a sponge.
Abis, when you mentioned about humor, I remember I just moved to Scotland early this year, and during one of the consultations, thankfully I wasn't the main person, I wasn't the main doctor in the office. So this guy came in. The only thing I was hearing, the only thing I heard was booking, and he left. So I was like, what's going on here? I got consolation when I realized that that particular accent was just a little percentage of the Scottish. And from the booking I had, that was the only way I knew that the man was planning a holiday. Why he came to the GP clinic, I had absolutely no idea. I didn't understand any term. So just be kind to yourself. It's everywhere.
Hi. Oh dear. It's funny because my son, he has a Yorkshire accent. So when my husband will pronounce something, he say, that's not how they pronounce it. My husband say, hey, really? That's how not to pronounce it. And say, no, that's not how they pronounce it. So, okay, tell me how they pronounce it. So there's that. It's a two-way where we laugh at it and then we say, oh, is that how they? It's like pronouncing Macabre, or it's like saying Edinburgh. So don't beat yourself. Express yourself. Express yourself. Everyone's going to. We all learn. Just have that open mind, like Abis is saying. Don't walk yourself out. Christina has a question as well.
I've been enjoying the conversation. It's been amazing. Well done, all the panelists and participants, for coming. I think it was useful to add something, and this is around reporting. As international students, as international workers, I work in supporting international recruitment, and that's why I know this. We struggle to report when there's a difficulty. We sometimes also struggle to report when it's a superior. And research has shown that both African and Asians have that tendency, and it's because of our culture and and how we respect hierarchy in our community. But sometimes also it's important to speak up. So this is on the back of accents. You need to speak up when you find that there's a situation that is compromising, either for a patient or either for a client or service user, or even within your studies. If you're not able to cope with or are struggling to complete your reports or complete your assignments, speak up. There's low reporting of speak up amongst this demography. And what that does is it creates the opportunity for people to be empathetic with you and actually support you, so that you either don't get into trouble or be seen as an accomplice or a part of what caused the problem. So it's just an encouragement for people. Report if there's it's not bad, it's common here, it's acceptable to report. And there's something we call whistleblowing as well. So in other words, you don't have to you can make it anonymous. Nobody has to know it's you that's doing the reporting. But if you see something that's bad, it's helpful to report that. Even if it's a racist, even if it's, let me not use the word racist, even if it's behavioral, report the situation so that it can be dealt with early and on time, so that it doesn't impact you or by extension, people you're looking after. I hope that helps. Thank you.
Oh yeah, that really helps. Thank you, Christina. My son will say say sorted because of the train line. So don't hesitate. Say sorted. So yeah. Isn't do you have something to say?
No, I'm ready for my session.
All right. So the last session is Dr. Izini. So over to you.
Unless you want to hear how my patient refused to answer me because I was pronouncing his name wrongly. So his name is WARWICK. So I went into the room, I was shouting, Mr. Warwick, Mr. Warwick. The man refused to talk to me. One of the nurses that was passing was now like, what's going on? Do you need help? I said, I'm trying to find out if this is Mr. Warwick. She now said, Mr. Warwick? The man said, yes. Sorry, carry on.
Have you tried pronouncing Sadak? Well, Nigerians call it Southwark. Greenish, we call it. I don't blame
you. UK towns and cities are just really, they're hard to pronounce even if you just live up the road from them.
Yeah. So don't beat yourself, please. We're just trying to tell you that integration, assimilating into the British culture, it's all fun. It's all you know, you just have to keep an open mind and gradually, even if we are 7 years, 13 years, 20 years, we still keep an open mind every day. We still say it's not our place. We still, and even back home, we still have things like this. We call them tribalism and all sorts of things. So here, when you travel, you now realize, oh, I need to be a better human. because at home we still have these things, but I'm grateful to start learning about all of this cross-cultural communication. So thank you so much, Laura. And yes, we are going to have Dr. Izine, who's going to talk about stress and how to manage your health. So over to you, Doc.
Hi, everyone. I think my stress level is already really reduced from what happened earlier today. If you joined us early, you will realize that we had a very horrifying glitch in Zoom. Like, I don't even want to talk about it, but I really apologize for the experience, for those that experienced it. So before I start, I just have a little question, and that is, just let me know in the comments, how stressed are you on a scale of 1 to 10? With 10 being, I am so stressed, to 1 being, I'm just chill, no stress. So let me know in the comments. 6, 8, 2, great. Oh, wow. 10, 4, 1. Wow. I need to drink what you're drinking, Abis. Great. So most people are on high stress levels. That means you're in the right place right now. So before we even proceed, we are going to do one little exercise, okay? One very, very little exercise. If you're sitting, you can stand. In fact, it's preferable if you can stand. Dr. Williams, Abis, everybody, get up, get up, get up, get up. Okay. Don't laugh. Head, shoulder, knees and toes, knees and toes. Head, shoulder, knees and toes, my eyes, my ears, my mouth and nose. Head, shoulder, knees and toes, faster. Head, shoulder, knees and toes, head, shoulder, knees and toes, my eyes, my ears, my mouth and nose. Head, shoulder, knees and toes, faster. Head, shoulder, knees and toes, head, shoulder, knees and toes, my eyes, my ears. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you so much for doing that. I believe that was a bit relaxing for you. This is a stress management session. We don't need to be tight, you know. You don't need to be so rigid. Just feel a bit relaxed so that you can at least grasp what we are going to talk about this evening in the remaining minutes or in the remaining time we have. So I'm not going to share my screen because of our previous experience. Let's just fire on. So who is the stressed man or woman? First of all, the stressed man or woman is someone that, ironically, someone that has chosen a responsible life. I'll tell you this. If you didn't choose to, let me say, pursue a higher education, to be more responsible in life, to contribute more to the society, to provide a better environment or opportunity for your kids, if you didn't choose to do that, your stress level will be, as it will be maybe comparably less. But because you chose to be more responsible in life, that is why you're prone to experiencing higher levels of stress. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that, number one, you're going to be really, really kind to yourself in this session. Whatever you're going to observe that you're feeling or experiences you've had, just be kind to yourself, because it is a decision to be responsible that you made that brought you this far. So let me share a little bit of my story. Still in that quest of trying to live a better life or have a better future for the kids, I found myself coming to the UK with a 2-year-old, a less than 2-year-old, while being pregnant. I was my first trimester. So imagine moving to a different country, pregnant, with a very, very little one, a toddler, and trying to settle into a new job and trying to settle into the environment, getting accommodation. Many people in this group can relate to that. It can be really, really tough. In fact, it's not even it can be. It is very, very tough. No need sugarcoating. But one thing I told myself then was that it will always get better. It can only get better. That whatever I'm experiencing in that phase, whatever I experienced in that phase was just going to be the worst of it. That once I cross this phase, I know it is definitely going to get better. So relocation is a huge stressor to every one of us that have moved from one place to another. Even just moving houses, you know how difficult it is. Let me still continue on the stressed man or the stressed woman. This is somebody that wants the best for him or herself and their loved ones. Someone that usually puts other people first before themselves. You may be able to relate to some of the things I'm saying. Someone that's always tired and exhausted because you have so many things to do, always finding yourself nagging so much. I'm not calling you out, just be internalizing anything I'm saying. Someone that questions the meaning of life from time to time, someone that is mostly moody and irritable, someone that wants to be there for their family but barely have time, and someone that struggles to ask for help. Can any of you relate to this? I know I'm going to get positive responses, but let's just proceed. So what are the common causes of stress? When it comes to managing your stress, the number one thing is, why am I even going through this? What exactly is going on? When you have conversations with fellow countrymen or with fellow immigrants, and we share our stories, it's usually a battle of who is more stressed than the other, or who went through the most difficult situation than the other, because it's somehow inevitable. But the question is, what is the source of your stress, or what are the sources of your stress? Money. If I ask you, money is going to come on top of the list, no matter how much you've made. Relocation, settling into a new country, the weather. Hey, being in this country during winter can be really, really depressing. You know, unemployment. Maybe maybe as a student, you're looking for a job to do to help you support your school fees, or even postgraduate phase. You're looking for a job. It can be really, really stressful. Marriage, parenting. Is there any day that we don't even hear about divorce that's in the news, about families that relocated? It can be really stressful. When you look at the stories, like the basis of such stories, you find stress, increased stress as a trigger. Work stress, pregnancy. Like I had in my own situation, almost everything was ticking for me. Pregnancy, work stress, the money, relocation, everything, you know. So it can be really difficult, but identifying, narrowing down to what exactly is causing your own stress is the number one step when you're going to be managing your stress. But in this session, I'm going to focus mainly on the signs and symptoms. But before I progress to that, before I proceed, just let me know in the comments, when you're stressed, what symptoms do you have? How do you know that you're stressed and you need to rest? Let me know. Let me know the common things that happen to your body or your mind, or the way you behave. What changes do you notice that make you realize, no. This is becoming too much. Okay, let me see. So while I'm waiting for your responses, I had a patient, a Nigerian lady, okay? She called me on the phone, and when we spoke, she started telling me things like, you know, when a Nigerian tells you things like, I don't even know what's wrong with me. When they start using such words, you know that, this one don't pass them, you know. So this lady was telling me things like she's getting dizzy, sometimes stomach upset, as in just giving me physical symptoms she was experiencing. And that's infusing it with, I don't even know what's wrong with me. And with such conversation, I already knew that stress was a contributing factor here. I had to tell her, okay, come into this surgery, let's have a chat. When we had the chat, I asked her about stress. She said no, which is typical for us. None of us will want to agree. No. We are not stressed because it feels we've normalized it. We've familiarized ourselves with stress to the point that we see it as a normal part of our lives. So when somebody calls you out and say, hey, you are stressed, you need to rest, the next thing you hear is, who will make the money now? I beg, everybody's stressed, you know. So when I asked the lady about stress at work, stressing at home, she said no, there was no form of stress. But as we continued the conversation, she broke down before me and started crying. I'm telling you something that happened real. So she broke down and started crying. She wailed and wailed. I was so patient with her. Thankfully, I had a lot of time that day. So that was when she started talking about the kind of stress she was going through at work, from workplace relationship. In fact, that was the major thing for her at that moment, you know. And she has internalized this problem. She has internalized it so much and for a long time that they started manifesting as physical symptoms. Do you understand? So where I'm going is this: when stress is poorly managed, it can present in so many ways, from physical symptoms to mental health issues to affecting your behavior. Like I see here, stress causes acne, anxiety, feeling unhappy, insomnia, migraine, tiredness. These are the common things. What happens when you're stressed? I think it's important for you to understand what happens when you're stressed. At least it will help you to understand any changes that is going on in your body so that you know what to do before it becomes late. If you read one of the adverts we put out regarding this webinar, we talked about people dying suddenly. I'm sure that if you ask questions, stress is somewhere in the story. Yes, and I'm not kidding. So stress can be really bad if it's not handled, if it's not tackled early enough, and if it's not managed appropriately in the right way. So what happens when you're stressed is that there's these stress hormones that are elevated, that are increased in your system. Okay. The main one that remains after a long time is the cortisol. So I'll focus on cortisol. So when cortisol is raised, the natural thing is to get it back to the resting state. Okay, getting it back to the resting state is when you now relax, when you do things that make you feel calmer, like the little exercise we had earlier, like laughing, mindfulness, and all of that. It tends to bring the cortisol level back to normal. But when you don't tackle that stress and bring it back to normal, for instance, you're working continuous shifts, or you're overexerting yourself, or you're working in a toxic space. Now, what toxic space does to you is whenever you go to work, the stress hormones are raised. You come back home. Sometimes you carry that same problem back home. It's already affecting your behavior. You haven't handled the situation. You go back to that same toxic space. The stress hormone remains elevated. Okay, so when these are the situations, you realize that you start experiencing problems associated with that raised stress hormones. One of them, okay, let me just categorize them into the memory, the behavior, the physical health. One of them is forgetfulness. You find yourself trying to remember things, as in simple things. That's when you forget your house key in the house, and then go and then you now remember, oh, I didn't even lock my door. You know, that's when you forget to put in an entry after you've given a patient a medication. And then when they discover, it becomes a problem. That's when you're struggling to concentrate in your studies because your memory is clouded. You can't think clearly on the next steps or the right things to do. Your memory is clouded by this hormone. That's when you start having symptoms like stomach upsets that you just can't explain where this one is coming from. You know, you're getting elevated blood pressure. You're getting these constant headaches that before you know it, we are diagnosing you with migraines, or it's even worsening your migraine. It's triggering it. It's making it worse. It's making your ulcers to be worse. You're treating and treating, but it's not making any difference because of stress-related ulcers. That's when you start talking about anxiety. You start saying things like, I never had anxiety before. This is all new, because these are poorly managed stress. And then for couples, you start having low sex drive, that you're no longer interested in sex. And then your partner will start suspecting you. Maybe you're getting satisfied by someone else, or you're getting satisfied outside. But because you even struggle to communicate, they won't understand what's going on, and it causes more friction in the house. And when your partner eventually says something, because you're under high levels of stress, you start shouting. You know, you start nagging because you're so irritable. Any little thing triggers you. One example I usually give is you have there is an orange peel. Let me say you're so relaxed, you're happy, no stress, and then you see an orange peel on the floor when you came back from work. You just pick it and go and put in the bin. But for you that is so stressed, that orange peel will be interpreted in so many ways in your brain. Like, why does everybody have to wait for me to come back to pick up this orange peel? Before you know it, you get so angry. And if someone mistakenly do you like this, it will be like they just touched the tail of a lion, you know? And before you know it, your kids are seeing you as the angry mom or the angry dad, because that is how stress has changed your behavior, even without you realizing. You're trying to cope yourself, but stress is doing more harm than good. So other things I have here, oh dear. Other things I have here, depression, being moody. You're so moody with your partner or with your friends that nobody knows when to talk to you. Nobody knows when to say something to you without you. As in, they'll be feeling like, what did I do to this person today? Even telling you good morning will be hard for them, because they don't even know how to shape mouth, because they don't know what they did to you to be moody. These are all internalized stress that hasn't been addressed properly. It's affecting your relationship with other people, because nobody wants to be around you. Nobody wants to be around somebody that drains their energy. They want to be around somebody that boosts their mood, because the workload, parenting, school, everything is already stressful. So they don't need stress from any other person. And then poor sleep. This one is like, as in they work together. If you don't sleep well, you're stressed. If you're stressed, you struggle to sleep well. So they work together. And you know how you feel when you don't sleep well. When we talk about sleep, I don't usually focus so much on the number of hours you put in, although it's very important. But I'm interested in, how do you feel when you wake up from sleep? Do you feel as if you're still getting headaches, feeling tired, that means you haven't slept well. A good quality sleep should leave you feeling refreshed. As in, you yourself can tell the difference when you've slept well and when you've not slept well. And that's what's important in quality sleep. In fact, let me bring it in now that whenever you're so stressed, make sure that you don't joke with your sleep. I remember when I used to do night shifts back to back because of my rota, working in A&E then. I realized that if I don't sleep, it increases my stress levels. And if I get to work, I'm bound to make mistakes. So for me not to joke with my sleep, it gets to a point, like I have 2 kids at home. And when you come back from night shifts, you want to sleep because you want to feel refreshed for your kids. You want to have time. You want to be there for them, not when you've not slept well and they come to talk to you, you're shouting, leave me alone, leave me alone, leave me alone. Before you know it, time is going. Every day, leave me alone. Tomorrow, leave me alone. Next tomorrow, leave me alone. Before you know it, they would gradually detach from you. And imagine you trying to be that parent that wants to be there for their kids, but the reverse is the case. So to avoid that kind of thing from happening, I just told myself, see, yes, I've had a lot of stress at work, and coupled with that, I need to sleep. So for me to give my best to these kids, I really need to take my rest. So sometimes I just carry wrapper and enter my car and go and lie down in the car. I've parked in front of the house, but I'm not entering the house. Even if I'm entering, I'm sneaking to go and take wrapper to go and lie down inside the car. They will only be seeing the car, but they don't know whether I've come back or not. Although they still found the trick, but they can't come outside because the door is locked. They have somebody with them anyway. So I'll sleep in the car until I feel refreshed, whether it's 1 hour, 2 hours, then I'll come out. Mommy, hey, everybody is happy. I'm there for you. Tell me all the things you want to tell me. I am patient to listen to them because myself, I feel refreshed. So I have to give what I have. I can't give what I don't have. Okay, so that's how important sleep is. And then for some people, it's seen in the way they eat. You see yourself gaining unnecessary weight and you're like, what's going on? Because you're using comfort foods to help yourself. You're so stressed and you're like, oh, it reminds me of one of my colleagues. One time I went on break. I saw this guy with one very large pizza like this. Pizza that can serve 6 people. I was like, what are you celebrating? He said, I'm not celebrating anything. No. I've worked so hard in the past 4 days. I don't just want to help myself and make myself feel better and reward myself, And some people have gone into this habit of that reward, such that they keep rewarding themselves with food, with ice cream, with chocolate. Because the interesting thing is that when you're stressed, your brain is craving this sugary stuff, this processed food. Just check it from today moving forward. When you're stressed, what kind of things do you crave for? You realize that you're not craving carrots, you're not craving cucumbers or vegetables. No, the things you're craving for are those things that will give you quick sugar. And when you have them, you feel happy. They are comfort food. But on the other side of it, your weight is increasing. You're putting yourself at risk of chronic diseases, high blood pressure, diabetes, stroke, heart attacks. You're increasing your risk of having all these. So these are some of the consequences of stress. Then on the other hand, there are some of us that lose weight instead. Because when we are stressed, our stomachs tighten up. We don't even remember to eat. And when you're not nourishing yourself with the right things, you have increased risk of infections like flu. You'll be wondering, why is my flu? Why am I always getting flu? Why is my own flu bad? Why am I always getting this what's it called again? Oh God.
Cold sores.
Yes, why am I always getting these cold sores? I had a patient few months back. He was getting repeated cold sores that we had to check for do viral tests. But then at the background of his story is that he has had increased work stress, and he noticed that the cold sores related to when that stress level increased. So your immunity drops, you'll be picking infections here and there. And the last thing you want for yourself is to be calling 111, visiting the hospital, the waiting time, the inconvenience, and all of that. All right. So the next thing is there are other people that try to cope with increased alcohol intake, increased smoking. This one is so common. Like I've had people around, somebody that used to take maybe just one bottle of beer once in a while. And then you now realize that the person is taking 3, 4, 5 daily as a coping strategy. These are the little signs of stress. Smoking, needing alcohol to sleep, taking one substance or the other to cope with their stress levels. So if you're noticing any of these, just know that you need urgent help. So because of time, I'll quickly run to how to manage stress. I'm not going to dwell so much on this because if I ask you now, you're going to tell me all the right things you do to manage your stress. I don't like to patronize people because I feel that you're wise already to know the things you do. But what usually happens is that we don't usually get that prompting, or we don't see the need to do them. Okay, so let me just use one analogy to summarize. Oh God, I thought I had my rubber band here. It's what I called my rubber band analogy. For those that have followed me before on Instagram, they must have come across that. I had one small rubber band with me. Just give me a second. Let me grab it quickly. Okay. I hope that was just a second and not more than that. Yeah. So can you see this red rubber band?
Yes,
It's
ma'am.
with me now. Great.
Yes.
Now, this rubber band, this is the resting state of this rubber band. Okay. And if I just throw this rubber band out, it may cover like 1 meter distance. Sorry, I don't even know what 1 meter is, but let me use it, Sha. So it may cover 1 meter distance. But if I want this rubber band to get like up to 3 meters, what do? I'll stretch it before I release it. Now imagine yourself as your resting state. Your productivity is so minimal. But if you want to do more, if you want your productivity to increase, that is when you start stretching yourself. Oh, let me do this. Let me study to pass my exam. Let me work hard to get paid. You're exerting yourself. That is what some people will call normal stress, which is okay. Because after you've stretched yourself, what's expected of you is to rest, to relax, and go back to your resting state so that you can last like this rubber band. Stretch, relax, stretch, relax. You will last longer. But if I continue stretching this rubber band, what do you think will happen? It will snap, right? Even if it doesn't snap, it will get weaker and weaker. And one day it will snap, maybe when I need it most. It will just snap and be so useless to me unless I start tying it. And once I start tying it, the productivity starts declining. For every tie, the productivity declines. For another tie, productivity declines until it becomes entirely useless. Now, the thing with our body is that we can't just fix it like a car, where you just fix it and everything seems to be brand new. No. So if I'm going to tell you, hey, start managing your stress, the first thing I'm going to tell you is this: be self-aware. Now, that self-awareness is what I did with this rubber band. How much can you stretch yourself and reach maximum productivity and then stop so that you can relax? How much can you stretch yourself so that you don't snap and then start patching up? Do you understand? I don't know if you guys can get, if you understood what I explained with the rubber band analogy, let me know in the comments. Let me know you're following.
Someone said good to take away stretch, relax.
Yes.
So that's it.
Good. Okay, so know how much you can handle per time, and as much as possible, get yourself back to the resting state. And one way to do that is your good sleep. Another way to do that is scheduling your rest. We've come to the UK. Sometimes if somebody tells you, yeah, this one, the rest. The next thing you hear is, I didn't come to this UK to be counting bridge, which is the normal slangs we use. But at what cost? Schedule your rest. Some of us, rather than taking that annual leave, in fact, but you need it. Take that your holiday. You must not book shifts on those annual leaves. Schedule your rest. And there was something that was highlighted importantly. That is reporting. It doesn't mean that you become you just start talking and just be reporting everybody up and down. If there is a situation that at work or in school that is not favorable, the first thing you're going to do is speak up for change. Don't keep silent. I had an issue with somebody at work, one of the nurses at work. I was like, as in the way she treated me, it was so rude and inappropriate. And I went back to my chair. I was like, I tried to continue working, but I realized that as someone that knows about stress and the impacts of stress, I realized that if I continue seeing another patient in this state, I'm bound to make mistakes, and nobody will want to understand why I did it. They will be like, okay, you didn't consider your fitness to practice. So because of the way I felt, I said, no, this situation had to be addressed. So I spoke to my consultants at that moment. They weren't doing anything. They were like, okay. Then another person I spoke to was like, okay, let me think about how to manage the situation. I'm like, come on, I need to get to work. I need to know that something is being done about this, because this is so inappropriate. Nobody was doing anything. I went and met the lady. I told her to please come. Just come to one side. She said, what? I said, please come. Thankfully, she came. And then I told her, the way you spoke to me was so inappropriate. I didn't like it. Please do not speak to me this way again. I had to take charge myself because as I was waiting for other people, it wasn't working. And the thing I realized about this is, if you're speaking out, be polite. If not, it will turn against you, and then it will further increase your stress levels. So be polite. Express how it made you feel, which is important in communication. Don't just go and start attacking personalities. You're always doing this, you are this, you're that. No, this particular thing you did, this is how it made me feel. It was inappropriate, And after, although it didn't go down the best, that it wasn't, when you call somebody out, some people are reasonable enough to understand and apologize. Well, it's not everybody. So she was one of those, not everybody. But at least I went back to my chair feeling more relaxed. I was no longer agitated. And somehow I felt proud of myself that I could speak up. And I carried on seeing my patients with clarity, And at the end of the job, I told her, bye-bye. I had nothing against her. But if you keep internalizing these things, and then maybe start putting tags, or maybe it's because of the way I speak, or maybe because of my color, start internalizing these things and blaming yourself, you are setting yourself up for anxiety, panic attacks, depression, and you will struggle. Now, one thing I always tell people, wherever you're working, consider the impact, consider your relationship with your work colleagues. It's very important. Some people know how to make the workplace a toxic space for you, but don't let it. As much as possible, speak up. But if you must speak up positively. Have positive change at the back of your mind as your goal. And when that doesn't work, as it was already mentioned earlier, escalate to the right persons. Because you are paid, the other person is paid. You're not working for them. You're not here, nobody's pitying you by giving you a job to do. No, you have equal rights as the other person. Okay? So don't let another person's action make you feel less of yourself to the point that you can barely function, that you always go home to cry. You're just depleting your quality of life. Okay, so I'll just conclude with that, with what I mentioned about self-awareness. As much as possible, try not to go beyond how much you can handle. Try to schedule your rest. Try to get adequate sleep. Be mindful of what you eat. Try to get yourself to that resting state, however you do it, whether it's by listening to music, by exercising, by being mindful, watching movies, whatever it is that you do that bring yourself back to that resting state, just do it. Make it as regular as the work you do. Okay, so if you have any questions, let me know. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much, and thank you. I really love the rubber band analogy. It do not get out of my mind. So thank you so much. Anyone with any question? Any question? Again, if you feel like you want to ask a question privately, you can always click on Dr. Izini privately or myself. You feel you can share. Please let us know if you have any question.
So if you have any question, you can unmute, or contribution of things that have helped you to cope with the stress of moving to this country. Just share. Okay.
I also feel like yeah. Okay, has said something to you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I feel also like it's not all the time when you are in community or in spaces that you should complain a lot. What you should do sometimes, avoid all the worries or all the stresses that are disturbing you and enjoy yourself. Try to be present. Because each time you're talking about the stress levels, you're always complaining, you're murmuring, it's also going to aggravate the whole stress, the whole anxiety. So sometimes you just want to go away, and for a day, maybe you just want to have a good time and not worry about what's happening at work, or maybe the money that you think you have to pay. So also be mindful of the spaces you are where it will trigger you. So be cautious of your trigger. What would trigger your stress level? What would make you? I think there was a doctor who came in also. She removed her WhatsApp for months because her parents were always typing, when are you going to get married? When are you going to do this? When are you going to do that? When are you going to get a sponsored job? Because she came in through her master's. When are you going to? So she deleted WhatsApp for almost 9 months. So yes, 9 months. So there was no WhatsApp. So the time she came back, she came up apologized to okay, I'm so sorry. I didn't talk to you. I said, I understand. Just text her, just tell me I'm disappearing. I know what is happening. But it was because of the stress level that she was having. She deleted her WhatsApp. So there are some people that will go extreme, and there are some people that will do it little by little and little by little.
Oh dear. No. So thank you all so much. Okay, so Laura said, I think be mentally prepared for a change in capacity when moving is helpful. Yeah. Someone described it as going from CEO to infant regarding how much they could achieve in a day and their mental view of themselves. So to not be hard on yourself when it takes a while to adjust. That's true. In my opinion, people can leave toxic jobs too if the organization has a toxic work culture. Yes, people can leave. Nobody's umbilical cord is tied to a particular job. But the thing is, leave with sense, live sensibly, don't burn bridges as much as possible. And before you leave, make sure you have a backup plan, because that's another thing that stresses people. I know of a family friend that was in a toxic workplace. He didn't have a backup plan. He hadn't got a second job, and he just left. In fact, he shouted at the HR because he was fed up. And this is when this happened, maybe last year, months down the line, he still hasn't got a job. And the other day he was driving and he passed out while driving, almost had accidents. Thankfully, nothing worse happened from that. And he was taken to the hospital, and he was told that he was lucky. Even his blood pressure was above the roof. This is someone that has family to cater to, and is not working. So what else do you expect? His stress levels will be really high. So when you're planning to leave a toxic workplace, make sure you have something to fall back to. And when you're doing that, your background plan, just focus on it and try to shift your mind away from what's happening in the immediate environment to the excitement of getting another job. That's what will help you cope through that season until you eventually go into a second job. Okay?
Yeah, I think that's very helpful. Also, given the current times that we are in, it's always advisable to don't say when they tell you congratulations, you've gotten the job. Don't just go and write to your organization that you want to resign. Get all the way to you know the day you are going to start, then you can start telling you already have your dates and everything. That's okay, this is the time I'm going to start, and then give your notice, your 4 weeks notice, or your how many weeks notice that your organization is giving to you. Because sometimes there will be cases where the people have been congratulated, you've gotten a job, but somewhere down the line they will be tracked, they will take back their employment. So you are left in the limbo. So be very mindful of it. And also, if you are just coming to the country with your Nigerian experience and all, it might take you a year to get a proper job. Some people think it will take them 1 month, 2 weeks, but it always takes like a year. I always say give yourself a year because you don't want to start getting anxious, and it's like preparing yourself. So always say a year, so in 6 months I might get it, in 8 months I might get it, in 4 months I might get it, in 2 weeks I might get it. So don't stress yourself and say, once I come, I hit the ground running, boom, 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 get really, really tired. For the Nigerians that have been dying lately, there's now suggestions through the autopsy that the virus sudden heart attack. So they're still trying to call people who go for the autopsy, like fellow Nigerians and doctors who are doing the autopsy, are now saying that sudden heart attack is a major issue. And then I know when I did my research in 2021 with a group, Africans were coming down with mental health disorder. They were even sectioning them because of the stress level. A woman in one of my interviews, she said, okay, I eat, I go and do shopping. In fact, I just take my credit card and I go and just do shopping. So I shop to relieve my stress because I was in debt, I was getting sick, I had diabetes, I was diagnosed with hypertension, a lot of cancers are coming up right now. So please, please, please don't stress yourself and then relax. Don't overwork.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that. And I'm planning to host a workshop, a stress management workshop. So that workshop it will be more hands-on, to get you from stress levels above 5 to stress levels below 5. So if you're interested, I'm going to share it I'm going to send out emails in that regards. That's with every other detail about the workshop.
Thank you so much, though. Thank you so much for everyone who participated. Abby has left. She went for another meeting. Thank you, Laura. Thank you, Dr. Izini. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for staying with us. For those who initially joined us and we had that issue, we say thank you for still logging back and not leaving us. We're very grateful that you came to our webinar, even if you don't know each other, you just saw it online, like, you know what, let me attend. Thank you, God bless you all. And I hope you take something away. You can share with us if you want to, our social media pages, wherever you saw it, just tell us how you feel about it. If you want to host something in your community, or you want to start something in your community, please don't hesitate, start it so that you can, keep yourself going. Ask questions, find out from your councils and everything what you need. So don't isolate yourself. That's the key thing. Thank you all.
Thank you all so much and have a lovely weekend. Remember, it's weekend though. Rest though. You see me in your dreams, so